What is up, my friends? So let's talk about The Platform, a movie that I've just been seeing so much hype about on social media, with people were like, you gotta check it out, you gotta look at this movie, it is so relevant, and by goodness, it is relevant as hell to our current times, and it's just been relevant to society in general for as long as society has been around. So the movie basically deals with a prison that they call the Hole, and the Hole pretty much is where you go to like serve time, or in the case of the main character, in order to get something you might want, because he wants an accredited diploma, so he has to spend 6 months in the Hole. So the Hole pretty much is a place where you go, and it's like a prison. You're with a roommate and everything. So as food starts to come down from the top floor, which is where the food starts at number one, as it goes down, by the time we get to the 50th floor, there's no food left. There's a total of 333 floors, 666 prisoners, because there's two prisoners per each floor. So pretty much this is hell, my friends, and people are starving and dying. A roommate, and his roommate is somebody who's been there for a while now. It's an old man, and he basically is somebody who went there because he killed somebody on accident. He says after he threw his TV set off the balcony, it landed on an immigrant and they died, because he was pissed off that he just bought a knife from an infomercial, and then right after that they showed the better knife, and he was basically like, the society keeps deceiving me, and it wasn't my fault, it's their fault for making me go to these extents. So he's basically with this guy. They're on the 47th level. They're not all the way down in the hundreds, 200s, or 300s, so they get a pretty decent amount of food once it comes down, but it still looks pretty disgusting. And basically the old man's like, I have a couple of months left and then I'll be out. And we see our main character be like hesitant to want to eat the food at first and just not want to participate at all. Over time, hunger gets to him, and he basically has a bonding moment with this old man. And then towards the end of their month, they find out they have to switch. Something that we didn't know. They switch rooms, you don't know where you're going, and you might end up with the same person or a completely new person. And we see that the person that he ends up with is the old man again. So this time, however, they're in the hundreds. So the old man's like tied him up and everything, and he's like, I can't let you like get the best of me because I'm an older man and I don't know what you're gonna do because of this. The main character's like, I'm not gonna do anything, please just let me go. But the old man pretty much has the advantage because he also brought the knife that he bought, because you can bring one thing over from the real world into this prison to keep for you until your sentence is over. So the old man's like, if we don't get enough food over time, I'm just going to eat you little by little and give you some of your food as well. Like, I'm going to feed you yourself. I'm not going to kill you, but we're going to survive this, right? So the old man pretty much just has him there, and then by the time that it comes to try and eat him, he starts trying to cut him. But a character that we learned about earlier in the film is a woman who is looking for her child in this prison, and she goes down on the food little table every now and then to try and find her child on each floor. But what we see is that as she's coming down and she sees what's happening, she immediately attacks the old man and kills him, because she remembers that the main character was showing her compassion in the beginning. So they eat the old man, and this is how pretty much the main character survives his month stay in this block, by eating the old man over time. Next time he is awoken, he is with a new person. This time it is a woman, and he finds out that the woman is actually the one who did the screener for him in the interview in order to get into the Hole in the first place. And she's come now with her dog here, and the reason for her doing this is because now she has terminal cancer, and she's trying to find out a way to make the Hole better. So she's pretty much like, she has no hope left in her anyway, so she's down here now. So what we see is that she is trying to get the other prisoners to be more compassionate towards one another and save food. This time they are in the, I believe it's the 17th floor, so they're pretty high up there, not that down. And she's basically like, we have to talk to them, reason with them. She tries this for 2 weeks. The prisoners are like, fuck you, I'm gonna eat as much as I want because I've been on worse floors and I'm not gonna go back to that. The guy finally snaps, the main character, and he tells them, hey, y'all need to be listening to her, and if you don't, I'm gonna shit on your food next time, and now nobody's gonna eat. So they kind of sort of listen, right? Well, things take a turn for the worse when the character Miharu, who is looking for her child, comes, and she is pretty beaten up. Goring, our main character, is like, we have to do something for her because we can't just let her die. So him and the lady, they pretty much help her out, and they have her staying with them on the floor. But what happens the next day is actually that Miharu actually kills the lady's dog that she brought. Pretty much breaks that lady down to the point of no return, I would say. So the next time that they wake up again after their month is done, they are in the 200s now. And what pretty much is going on now is that Goren's like, how the hell am I going to survive? But what he sees is that he's still with the lady, but now she has actually committed suicide, basically giving her body to him to be able to survive the long months that he's going to be down there. Because if we saw on the 100 level nothing came down, there is shit at the 200 level, so he basically has to survive this way. Next time he actually awakens, though, however, he is with a new inmate, and that is Baharat, and they are actually on the 6th level, so they are going to get some pretty good food up there. Baharat is trying to escape, however, and he tries to use a rope with the upstairs people, but they are like bullshitting him, and they actually just like shit on him literally as he's trying to go up to the 5th floor and try to escape all the way to the top. Goren's like, the only way we're going to be able to do this is if we start rationing the things ourselves, so we got to go on the platform of food down on each level and start feeding people the ration that they deserve. We won't start at the 50th level because that's where they are eating 50 and above, so we got to go 50 to like the 300. So anybody who's 50, 49 or 1, they don't get no food because they've already ate, but everybody that's below 50, they get some food. And so what they realize is they also have to leave one plate intact so that they see up there, the administration as they call them, that they are actually like doing what needs to be done to feed everybody. And so maybe this might cause a change, and this might be how they can all get out in time. So they do this, and they have to use some steel poles and everything, and it gets pretty gruesome at points we see, because a lot of the prisoners don't want to listen to what they have to say, or they're pretty much just so far gone that they don't give a shit what they do. So they ultimately do make it all the way to the last floor, and they realize that this all goes down to 333, which at the time before that they believed it was only to 250, and they're pretty much like, okay, what is going on here? And then when they finally get to the last floor, they realize that there is actually a child, the child of Miharu, who ultimately was killed as they were passing through the floors by some other inmates that also injured both Baharat and Goren all the way up until the point of they can't even really walk that much. So they decide to ultimately give the last plate that was supposed to go up on the platform to the child so she can eat, and they pretty much are like, we're just gonna have to figure out what's next after this. The next day, however, Baharat dies after the injuries he took. The child is still there, and Goren's like, the child has to be the message. The child is the message when she goes all the way back up to the top, that she was able to survive because she was on the 333 floor, and that's impossible to survive down there, but she ultimately did because of the kindness of everybody that was shown. So Goren sends the child back up to the platform, and this is where our movie ends. So what is going on? Well, the best way I guess I could describe it is that this movie basically is dealing with our society today, and I think that the administration might have been more sort of an experiment of sorts to see how society plays out in a role like this, where things are more literally given and taken down more as they go down and down and down. And I think it's sort of a mockery of what people think trickle economics is, because it sounds good when you describe it that everybody gets all of this, but as you go from the top and you get to a certain point, more and more people take, and by the time it gets to the people that are in the bottom, they get nothing. So the message I guess they're trying to deliver is we can actually learn to be this new change and actually have the people all the way at the bottom, which is the child, actually were able to obtain some sort of food because we were enforcing these things and making sure that everybody was getting what they deserve. And I think that the reason at the end Goren is like, I don't need to be the bearer of this, because this in itself speaks for itself, because the platform wasn't moving when he was on top of it with the child to try and go all the way up, because it was like, as long as the child is there by itself, it actually proves more than anything that you put your faith in the next generation, that they will be able to move from what we are currently doing now and make sure that the next generation after them actually will be able to be more fairly rewarded, more fairly treated than what we've been doing ourselves. And sometimes you may have to make that sacrifice where you basically aren't going to be there to seep the rewards and all the riches that come from this as a society, but you actually feel good inside knowing that you did your part to be able to do that. And I think that's what Baharat and Goran did at the end. They pretty much gave up their lives so that the next generation wouldn't have to go through something like this, and the child actually survived themselves. So I think that that's pretty much what the society that we are in today is, that we need to be able to see that sometimes we do have to make our sacrifices, and maybe we're not going to see those rewards ourselves, but we will know that we left a better future for the ones after us. So that's just my thoughts on the ending of The Platform. A pretty good movie. I definitely recommend checking it out if you haven't. Even if you've listened to this whole video, it's still pretty insane how things go about, and it is pretty violent and gory, I would say. So definitely, if you're a little squeamish, you might want to take a seat back. But yeah, I think pretty much what it's trying to say is that yes, we are a society where we think that if the rich get all of this, that they will pass it on down to all of us. But we see that things get muddled in that process, and people who are in the poverty level will never see it like come down to them or trickle down, because it's all bullshit. So my thoughts, my opinions, maybe you have a different look on the film. You let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below if you've seen this movie already. But anyways, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? We dissect movies, we talk ending explains, we talk reviews, we talk all that good stuff on not just movies but TV shows as well, music, anime, all of that. So make sure you subscribe. On the road to 15,000 subscribers, so close to getting to that. Also make sure you follow me on Twitter, make sure you follow me on Anchor, Twitch, all provided down below. And I'll see all of you next time. As always, stay positive.